The push for $2,000 checks in the Senate could have ripple effects for Georgia's Senate runoffs. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is planning to filibuster the Senate's planned vote to override President Trump's defense bill veto. Unless Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell brings the increased direct payments up for a vote. Sanders has the ability to keep the Senate in session during the holiday week. That could impact the campaign schedules of incumbent Republicans Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in the final week of their races. CBS News political analyst Leslie Sanchez and CBS News political contributor Joel Payne join me now. Leslie is a Republican strategist. Joel is a Democratic strategist who worked as a deputy press secretary for former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Leslie, let me ask you, leading up to today, it appeared Majority Leader McConnell could have been able to prevent his party's Georgia senators from having to weigh in on this contentious issue, but now they're both supporting the $2,000 checks. Here's Senator Loeffler this morning.
I've stood by the president 100% of the time. I'm proud to do that. And I've said, absolutely, we need to get relief to Americans now, and I will support that.
And a few hours later, Senator Perdue agreed, joining the call for increased direct relief. This is in line with President Trump, but Republicans make up the main opposition to this measure. Is this the right move ahead of next week's election?
For the Georgia candidates, for the incumbents, it absolutely is, Chip. I mean, these are voters on the ground. It's difficult to get voters to turn out in a special election in these runoffs, but this is an issue that across the country people are paying attention to. And it's absolutely the right move to understand that these are households that need these dollars. This could really be, in a very close election, the issue that gets people motivated to go to the polls, to pay attention, and to engage those final days of the election.
Joel, Republican Senator Josh Hawley says there are enough votes to pass the increase of $2,000 checks. You're a veteran of the Senate. What do you make of the Democratic strategy here?
Well, what I make of the Democratic strategy is it's completely dependent upon having a good faith negotiating partner on the other side. And I've heard a lot of criticism of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Well, they didn't really want to pass this package. They didn't really want to, pass COVID relief for the American people. I just ask any unbiased observer of this process, who was Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer supposed to negotiate with? You had Mitch McConnell today go and reject the president's own call for $2,000. He rejected a unanimous consent motion on the floor of the Senate today. Nancy Pelosi's been negotiating with Steve Mnuchin, who allegedly represents President Trump, for months. How can Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have any good faith conversations with anyone on the Republican side, given the antics that we've seen, not just in the last week, but really over the last 6 months? I think that these candidates in Georgia understand that they have to bail water. And I think that this is a real challenge for them going into the home stretch of their runoff race. This is obviously something that many Americans, including many Georgians, need. And I think a lot of those folks in Georgia who are going to be voting next week are tired of these antics from Republicans.
Joel, a follow-up. Democrats have a chance to win control of the White House and both chambers of Congress for the first time since the beginning of the Obama administration. So how important is this election to achieving President-elect Biden's goals for the country? And what would happen if he doesn't get the control of the Senate?
It's such an interesting question, Chip. Obviously, it's better to have the Senate majority leadership. I worked for Harry Reid last time Democrats had the leadership of the Senate. It gives you control of the calendar. It gives you control of Supreme Court nominations, judicial nominations, et cetera. But it does not fundamentally change the type of governing scenario we're going to be in, whether it's 50-50 or 51-49 or 51-49 the other direction. It's still going to be the same type of mixed, divided governing scenario where moderates in the middle are going to control the chamber. People like Joe Manchin, Chris Coons, and on the Republican side, Mitt Romney and Susan Collins. They're going to control the action because they can go and grab a number of their moderate colleagues on the other side and halt legislation to a grinding stop whenever they want. So while it's important for obvious, leadership measures, it's not really going to change the governing scenario that we're in.
Leslie, Joe Biden has repeatedly said that even if Republicans keep the Senate, they'll be ready to work with him on major issues. Last week, he told a group of political columnists, quote, Republicans are beginning to realize that there is a center that has to be responded to. Is that what you're seeing from Republicans?
That'd be a really good message for him to say to his own party. I think there's many on the Republican side who feel that divided government, many Americans feel divided government is a responsible government. They don't want to see one party kind of have all the control, and they're very concerned about that. With respect to Biden administration working with Congress, there are many measures I think they're going to have an agreement on. Infrastructure, which is something that President Trump has talked about. I do expect to see an increase in some of these payments supporting small businesses, supporting the states, in a lot of different municipalities. You're going to see an increase in that, and there will be a lot of Republicans who want to get into the details. They don't want to just have these blank checks. So responsible government is where Republicans are going to fall, and they're going to there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure to also hold the Biden administration accountable, not only on spending, but kind of some of these extensive agenda items that he may want to move forward with. But that's the balance I think Americans are looking for.
Let me ask both of you, what's going to happen in this election and how confident are you?
Well, I'll start. Leslie's going to do better than me, obviously, with this prognosticating. Look, I think this is going to be super close. Democrats on the ground there understand that runoffs in states like Georgia, they favor Republicans. So it's going to take a massive turnout operation by Warnock and Ossoff to get it done. I think right now, Republicans have to stop allowing themselves to be their own worst enemies. They keep shooting themselves in the foot with issues like the stimulus issue. And I think if you see that become the central issue of the runoff, I think Democrats have a really good chance.
Leslie?
I think a lot of voters are tired of the, $500 million in commercial ads and on-air ads that they've seen in this campaign. They're ready for it to be over. Feeling very strong about the quality and the campaigns of the incumbents of the Republicans. And you also have initiatives like the Libre Initiative, which has gone out and reached 250,000 Latino voters in some of those swing counties that have changed demographically. So expect some turnout there that you wouldn't traditionally see in a runoff. And I think that may also be a tipping point in this case that will continue to favor and bolster the Republicans.
Are Republicans going to win both races, or yes, no, or maybe?
I'll say yes.
Leslie Sanchez and Joel Payne, thank you very much. All right.
Let's be positive.